Welcome to Keeping Things Civil YouTube channel. This video will discuss concrete beams skin reinforcement. Skin reinforcement is mentioned on the ACI 318-19 section 9.7.2.3. So if you go to the ACI 9.7.2.3, it states that for non-pre-stressed and Class C pre-stressed beams with heights exceeding 900 mm, longitudinal skin reinforcement shall be uniformly distributed on both side faces of the beam for a distance h divided by 2. Now, to provide the skin reinforcement, we need to determine the skin reinforcement area and the skin reinforcement spacing. Now, in section R9.7.2 says that the minimum skin reinforcement area is not specified. However, bar number 10 to number 16s are usually provided. So if you go to R9.7.2.3, it states that the size of the skin reinforcement is not specified because research has indicated that the spacing rather than bar sizes is of primary importance. So we need to pay attention to the spacing. Now, the spacing of skin reinforcement, we go to section 9.7.2.3, which says that the spacing of skin reinforcement should follow 24.3.2. So we need to go to 24.3.2. And 24.3.2 says we need to follow this table. Now, we have more than one case, more than one reinforcement type. Usually we're dealing with deformed bars or wires. So we need to follow the lesser of this equation or this equation. Now you can see in this equation that we have an F sub S. F sub S is the calculated stress in deformed reinforcement. And C sub C is the least distance from the surface of deformed bar or pre-stressed reinforcement to the tension face. Okay, so now we need to calculate Fs. So Fs, which is the stress and the calculated stress in the deformed bar, can be found from this equation. Now, ACI actually allows you to use Fs equal to 2/3 of Fy. This is mentioned in section 24.3.2.1. So if you go here, you can find that the stress Fs in deformed reinforcement closest to the tension face and the surface loads shall be calculated based on the unfactored moment, or it shall be permitted to take Fs as 2/3 of Fy. So let's do a quick example. If we have a continuous beam, a 200 by 1000 millimeter, the steel reinforcement yield strength is given to be 420 megapascal and the concrete compressive strength is 25 megapascal. The beam cover is 40 millimeter. So how do we find the skin reinforcement spacing? Now we can use the simplified equation. 2/3 of Fy is 280. We go to the equation and we can find the spacing. So the spacing comes out to be the lesser between 280 and 300. So we choose the lesser, which is 280. So how do we provide this skin reinforcement? So let's say this is the beam, this is the negative moment, and this is the positive moment reinforcement, and we need to provide the skin reinforcement. So we start with adding 2 bars at the middle. So the middle of this beam is here. So we add 2 bars. Now, after doing this, we take the distance from here to here between these 2 bars. The distance is 390 millimeters. Now 390 is more than the 280 millimeters that we already calculated. Therefore, we need to add 2 bars at the middle. So we add them, and we do the same thing at the top. And this is how we add the skin reinforcement. So hopefully this video helped you understand the concrete beams skin reinforcement according to the ACI. Now, it's very important to state or to say that in the British standards, it's completely different to the ACI. But this is how they do it in ACI. Thank you for watching, and like the video and subscribe if you found it useful.